current restrictions. Do we have any apologies, Matt?
Nil received.
There being none. Any declarations of interest?
Mr. Chair, we've received a declaration of interest from Councillor Watts, just in relation to item DESC 0.09.2, development application number 98 of 2021 for a patio at 29 Park Street, Scone. Councillor Watts is the owner and the applicant in relation to that.
Good. Okay, would someone like to move that declaration be accepted?
I also move.
I'll second. All in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Public participation. I believe we have both Karen Jerd from Complete Planning Solutions and Stuart Scott representing Elliston Leisure Trust to speak on DESC 09.1, the rural workers dwelling at Elliston. We'll come to that very shortly. There are no site inspections, so we'll go straight into business item DESC 09.1, and I will hand over to Karen Jerd to speak. Good morning, Karen. We can see you. Can you hear us loud and clear? Hi, Karen. We can see you. Would you?
Hi.
Hi there. Yeah, now we can hear you. Would you like to say anything, or are you just observing?
Well, just want to see.
As a participant.
Well, it depends what is going to happen. From my understanding, council officers were happy with the amended setback to 30 metres off the road, and that the need for sealing the road would be removed. Is that correct?
That's the recommendation and in the conditions. Would you like me to hand over to Matt? And if you would like to say something after he's given his summation of the application, you're very welcome to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Righto. I'll hand over to Matt Pringle then.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chair. As you'd recall, this application was considered by the D&E committee last month, and there was a recommendation from that committee to council that the application be deferred, pending the submission of amended plans showing an increased building setback from the road. There were concerns raised by staff in relation to dust impacts from vehicles using the unsealed road, because initially the application was for a rural workers dwelling, was only 10 metres off that road. And there was a recommended condition that the road be sealed. The matter was then considered by council on the 30th of August, and council resolved to defer the determination of that DA. Since that time, the applicants come back with amended plans showing the rural workers dwelling at a distance of 30 metres from the road. Council staff have assessed the amended application as being satisfactory and have removed the requirement for that road to be sealed. And now there is a recommendation for approval of that DA. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right, thank you, Matt. I'll just note that we've lost Councillor Watts from the screen, who was also zooming in. And she sent me a text to say that her internet has gone down and she will try and reconnect. While we do that, Councillor Abbott, do you have any thoughts? I'll just go around the room as I usually do. Do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I'm happy with the recommendation.
Yes, I must admit I am too. Councillor Campbell, can't see you, but...
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I'm happy with the recommendation. I also commend the proponent on the fact that they are willing to oblige in this way, and I believe that it's a very practical outcome. So I'm quite happy to support the recommendation.
Very good. Well, we still don't have Councillor Watts back, but I'm very happy to. You were happy to move, did you say?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to second. Councillor Abbott has signalled that she is also in favour, so that motion is carried. So we will move, and thank you, Karen.
Okay, thank you.
Your input was not required, but yeah.
No, that's fine. And thank you very much, Council, for considering our amendments, and we really appreciate the outcome. So thank you.
All right, take care. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Right. Right, so we will move on to item DESC 09.2, which is a covered patio in, I can't remember the name of the street, Parker Street, Scone. Councillor Watt is the applicant, and she has declared, obviously, a conflict of interest. So I think we're actually okay to proceed. I think this, Matt, I'll hand over to you as usual.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this application was received by Council on the 17th of August of this year. DA 90 out of 2021. It's seeking consent for a new patio at 29 Parker Street in Scone. We might just turn to the actual plans. It's probably the best way of looking at the proposal. On page 45 of the agenda, you can see the proposed patios at the rear of the existing dwelling, between the dwelling and the existing pool. The patio has a maximum height of 2.65 metres and dimensions of 5.5 by 8.4 metres. Skillion awning. It's fairly straightforward. The application wasn't notified because it wasn't required to be notified under our community participation plan. So obviously there was no submissions received. It's been assessed as satisfactory against our development control plan, and we've recommended approval subject to conditions of consent.
Righto, I will do my usual, go around the room. I'll start with you, Councillor Campbell, if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I don't have any problems with it really. It's within the boundaries and it's nothing, I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary. I'm quite happy to support the recommendation.
Councillor Abbott.
Yes, I support the recommendation.
Yeah, as do I. So do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved
I'll
by
second it.
Councillor Abbott, seconded Councillor Campbell. I'm also in favour, so the motion is carried. Item 7 on the agenda, is there any councillor questions? Councillor Campbell.
No, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Abbott.
Yes, I have a question. I've received an email, and I believe you have too, Councillor Fisher, from somebody, a resident in Waverley Street, about the silky oak tree that is to be removed. So my question is basically, it's tangential to that, is that when will we revisit the tree policy that was lost some time ago? And given that climate change really demands that we have a proper, healthy, flourishing urban canopy, when are we going to do something as a council about that? Because as she points out in her email, she's been there for 8 years and she's progressively watched that block of land being denuded of trees. And this silky oak is the last one. But we as a council ought to have an urban canopy plan, a tree policy. And at the time when we were looking at it, we were looking at a significant tree register as well. So I'd like to revisit that.
Thank you. My understanding is that the tree policy is coming back to council this year. I'll let Matt answer that.
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Chair. So as you're aware, we are preparing a new development control plan at the moment.
Yes.
All the sections in the DCP are being reviewed and updated, and we have developed a new section for tree management or tree preservation in the Upper Hunter Shire, and we're planning on putting that up to council for consideration, or through this committee for consideration, with a tree policy as well. at some point in the near future.
Do you mean a tree register, a significant tree register, as well as the tree policy, or the DCP will have a tree policy?
The DCP with the section on tree preservation, along with the tree policy. As you know, we put the tree policy to council.
Yep.
I think it was last year or the year before, and the recommendation that be adopted, but it wasn't adopted by council at the time, and so we're putting it back to council with the DCP.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, will we revisit the significant tree register again, as we had done in that policy? I think it's almost 2 years ago, actually, that it was lost.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's something we can certainly look at if the policy is adopted by council.
Thank you. And then I do have another question, and it's with respect to building standards. And because at the moment, the building standards don't go far enough in terms of mitigating climate change. And building standards certainly could do a bit there. So are we advocating or lobbying the state government to revisit their building standards?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the state government, I think they updated the BASIC's requirements not that long ago. So they have been reviewed and updated fairly recently. And as you know, the BASIC standards override any council controls for residential buildings. However, as part of the DCP, we are also looking at controls for commercial and industrial buildings.
Thank you. And one last question, Mr. Chair. With the data, the building that we looked at Aberdeen, the Data Management Centre, what exactly does that, just wanted to ask, I just want further information on that, what sort of setup it's going to be. Do we know?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Look, at this stage, it's only an exclusivity agreement that we've entered into with the proponents for them to do their investigations and due diligence. So we don't have the details of the centre at this stage. Okay,
thank you. They're all my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see Councillor Watts has rejoined us. Just to bring you up to date, Councillor, that both items DESC 09.1 and 09.2 were both passed, and the recommendations were passed and approved. Do you have any questions? Righto, that concludes. You do have a question? Sorry, we don't have audio for you.
Oh, sorry, I've got.
Oh, no, we do. Yeah.
No, I just said if someone could just make sure that I don't keep losing out on internet. No, I'm good, thank you.
Righto. Well, thank you all for your attendance.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just item 9.3 of the agenda.
Oh, sorry, 09.3. There was a question with notice, which was from Councillor Abbott.
Unmute, Sue.
You're happy with that answer?
Yes, sorry, Mr. Chair, I was on mute. Yes, when will we be getting that presentation? Thank you for the answer.
I believe there are 2 draft reports in.
Yep. So, Mr. Chair, we have some draft reports that have been prepared by our staff with the Department of Planning, Industry and Environment, and we're hoping to put something up through this committee in the coming months. I can't confirm whether it's next month or the month after at this stage, but fairly soon.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Do we need to move the notation of the? We do. So, can I have a mover then, please?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Abbott, secondly Councillor Campbell. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Righto, for the second time. Thank you all very much for your time. Much appreciated. See you all soon.